Hey, welcome back to Livin MN Outdoors. I'm Daniel, and thanks for tuning in to this week's fishing report. Like usual, guys, before we dive into the report, if you use any of the guides or resorts mentioned in today's report, please let them know you saw them on Livin MN Outdoors. And with that being said, let's dive right into this week's fishing report. Gonna start off local, guys. I've been fishing in Mille Lacs, Sherburne, and Kennebec counties quite a bit. Tons of walleyes. The panfish bite has been a little bit trickier, but as far as the walleye bite goes, it seems like the majority of the walleyes have kind of pushed off of the shorelines. We've been finding the majority of them in that 8 to 12 foot of water, kind of out on those first break lines or out on some shallower structure on the main lake. Still, best way to catch them, a jig and a minnow or a slip bobber and a leech. Now, as far as the panfish, it seems like the majority of the panfish are in that 4 to 9 foot of water, kind of on those first weed breaks that are starting to pop up, and catching those on slip bobbers and a minnow or a chunk of a night crawler. Now, let's dive into the report on Mille Lacs Lake. Unfortunately, there is a massive fish fly hatch out on Mille Lacs Lake right now. They are absolutely everywhere, and you are going to mark a ton of them on your graph. Now, as far as the walleye bite goes, they are still picking up some walleyes. They are a little bit tougher with all of those bugs around. Best areas to target for those has been that 18 to 24 foot of water off of the sand or the gravel. Now, early morning or late evening, you can find those fish up shallower in that 12 to 16 foot, but the overall best all-day bite has been in that 18 to 24. Now, some of the better methods to catching those fish in the early morning and evenings, pulling bandits has been working very well. And then throughout the day, a slip bobber and a leech is king out on Mille Lacs Lake. Now, as far as the perch goes, finally starting to get some of those perch reports coming in. They're finding those in that 26 to 30 feet of water out on the mud. Unfortunately, the fish fly hatch has made it a little bit tougher to get those fish to bite, but when they do bite, they are catching some absolute tanker perch. Now, as far as how they're getting those perch to bite, a slip bobber with a crawler, leech, or a fathead is working, although some guys are starting to pull bottom bouncers tipped with a minnow or a crawler as well, and having some success with those. Now, as far as the smallmouth bass bite goes, there are a bunch of males starting to show up on the beds. The majority of the fish are being found anywhere from 2 to 8 foot of water. The spawn is coming very soon here, so over the next 2 weeks, if you want to get up to Mille Lacs Lake for some of the best smallmouth fishing in the world, the next 2 weeks is the time to be up there. Now, as far as how to catch those smallmouth, a small Ned rig or a drop shot is going to work best right now. You can throw some hair jigs, maybe some jerk baits, and pick off some of the more aggressive fish, but the Ned rig and the drop shot is your best choice for right now. Now, as far as the structure to find those smallmouth on, if you can find a secluded boulder up in shallow on that sandy gravel mix, that is going to be holding the majority of those fish up in shallow, but any sort of rocks or boulders up in those shallow spawning grounds are definitely going to be holding fish right now. Now, if you guys are looking to get up to Mille Lacs Lake and hire a guide, we are working with Joe from Keeper's Guide Service. He does still have some availability in May and June, but those are really starting to fill in. But he does have quite a bit of openings in July and August. So if you want to get in on some of the fishing up on Mille Lacs Lake, go ahead and give Joe a call from Keeper's Guide Service. All right, now moving over to Lake Winnie. The walleye bite on Lake Winnie has remained very strong up there. The majority of the walleyes are being caught in that 12 to 15 foot of water throughout the day. Early mornings or late evenings, they are still catching some of those fish up in shallow, anywhere from 5 to 11 foot of water. They are still getting them on jigs and minnows, although a slip bobber and a leech is a must-have, and some guys are starting to pull spinners and having success with those as well. Now, as far as some of the better areas to target, the North Shore is producing some really nice fish. It does seem like the North End has some of those bigger fish though, those 18 to 23, which have to be put back with a few keepers mixed in. Up in the bay, they're finding a lot more of those keeper size fish, that 14 to 17 and 7/8 on some of the shallower humps and some of those shallower sand flats. Now, Tamarack Point and the East Shoreline still are holding a few fish as well, but the bay seems to be the better of those two as of right now. Now, as far as the panfish bite goes, Tamarack Bay, they are starting to find some really nice panfish in there, anywhere from 4 to 9 foot of water on the weeds. Slip bobber with a minnow or a chunk of a night crawler, even a panfish leech. Just search around in those shallower weeds and you're going to find some really nice panfish. Now, you can also find panfish over in Cutfoot. Just be aware that the limit over in Cutfoot is 5, where on Winnie the limit is 20 on bluegills. And also make sure to check in on the crappie limits on both Winnie and Cutfoot as well. Now, as far as the perch bite out on Winnie, the perch still seem to be scattered. Every once in a while, some guys will pick some up, and they do tend to be really nice. But as far as honing in on the schools of them, it has been extremely tough. Now, if you're looking for pike, the pike are absolutely everywhere. They're catching them on anything they're throwing. For the walleyes, spinners, slip bobbers, jigs, doesn't really matter. You're going to catch pike. So if you want to get up there and pickle some pike, or you like to fry them, go ahead and head up to Winnie. Now, if you guys are looking for a place to stay on Lake Winnie, Chad at the Pines Resort, he does have some last minute cabins available. They do have some campsites, full bar and restaurant, boat rentals, dock slips, live bait, fish cleaning shack, whatever you could ask for, the Pines Resort has it. So if you're looking to get up to Lake Winnie, go ahead and call Chad from the Pines Resort. All right, if you are looking to book a walleye guide up on Lake Winnie, Scott from zupsguideservice, he is the premier walleye guide up there. Not only is he going to take you out and put fish in the boat, but he's going to teach you how, the whys, whens, and wheres, and you will have a blast hopping in the boat with Scott. So if you're looking to get up to Lake Winnie with a guide, go ahead and call Scott from zupsguideservice. All right, now moving over to Leech Lake. The walleye bite has started to pick back up. It was a little bit slower after that cold front, but slowly has been getting better and better by the day. The better areas to target those walleyes are in that 12 to 18 feet of water on those sand to rock transitions. And then in the early mornings and evenings, some of those shallower sand flats in that 8 to 12 foot of water is producing some really nice fish as well. The best ways to catch those walleyes are still on a jig and a minnow or a jig and paddle tail, although the leech and slip bobber bite is really starting to pick up. Now, as far as perch go, they are still catching some perch in Traders Bay on that first break line in that 7 to 11 feet of water, getting those on jigs and minnows or slip bobbers and leeches. Now, as far as the panfish bite goes out on Leech Lake, in Boy Bay, they're finding those crappies in that 4 to 9 foot of water in the rice, throwing a slip bobber and a minnow or a jig in a minnow or even a smaller paddle tail is working for those crappies. Now, over in Sucker Bay, those weed lines in that 7 to 11 foot of water, catching them the same way as they are over in Boy Bay, but they are pulling in some really nice crappies along with some big bluegills. Now, as far as the smallmouth bass bite goes, I talked to a couple guys. They said that the bass are starting to spawn, the smallies. They're finding those in anywhere from 2 to 8 foot of water, sand, gravel, secluded boulders, those spawning areas. But if you can find a secluded boulder up in that shallow water, it's holding some really nice smallmouth right now, and they're catching those on Ned rigs and drop shots. Now, if you guys are looking for a place to stay up on Leech Lake, Kyle from Acorn Hill Resort, he does have some cabins available. They do have their brand new bar and restaurant, live bait, dock slips, fish cleaning shack. Basically anything you need to make a wonderful fishing trip up on Leech Lake, they can offer. So if you are looking to get up to Leech Lake this coming weekend or in the future, go ahead and call Kyle from Acorn Hill Resort. I also want to mention Acorn Hill Resort will be hosting Muskie Camp later this year, August 9th through the 16th. That will include guide trips, guide seminars, your cabin. All of your meals are included in that. So if you're interested in more details on Muskie Camp, go ahead and give Kyle a call from Acorn Hill Resort. All right, if you are looking to book a guide up on Leech Lake, we are going to be partnering with Davis's Guide Service. He has absolutely been crushing it out on Leech Lake. So if you want to get up to Leech Lake, learn the lake a little bit, put some really nice walleyes in the boat, go ahead and give Davis's Guide Service a call. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for this week's fishing report. Really appreciate you tuning in. If you guys do get out fishing, take some pictures. You can send them to us on Facebook or our Gmail. Remember, when you're out there, don't crowd your neighbor. Be respectful of other fishermen. If there's somebody struggling at the boat ramp, lend a helping hand. But most importantly, don't forget to get on out there and get living.